Good morning and thank you for joining us on Africa This Morning. It is the 30th of April 2014. My name is Beryl. Ooro. Let's start the bulletin with a look at the top stories.
Central African Republic attack. At least 22 people killed in hospital attack. The Kenyan economy. Kenya misses its economic growth target for 2013. Marriage bill. Kenyan president assents to controversial marriage bill.
We'll start in Kenya. President Uhuru Kenyatta has signed into law the Marriage Bill 2014. The act defines various types of marriages, including monogamous, polygamous, customary, Christian, Islamic, and Hindu marriages. The law permits men who are married under the customary marriage to marry more than one wife without the first wife's consent.
President Uhuru Kenyatta assented to the bill into law despite opposition from a section of religious leaders who claimed the law undermines Christian principles of marriage and family.
If you now allow reckless adoption of polygamy by men invoking African tradition, wouldn't women be right in exploring polyandry? And what would men say to that?
Legislators passed the law after an intense debate that saw women members of parliament storm out in protest after MPs passed the bill allowing men to marry as many women as they want. The law had initially given a wife the right to veto the husband's choice. The signing into law of the bill elicited mixed reactions from a section of Kenyans.
Well, to the society is going to have a very negative impact.
A man getting another wife, it might lead to breaking the marriage.
I advise the president, the paper that he signed that, to tear it and throw it in the litter bin.
It's good if men can men can marry many wives. It's okay. On the other side, it's bad.
That should not worry women, because right now and as we move forward, the economy that cannot allow a man to marry many wives.
I refuse it, and I refuse it once and for all. One man, one wife. There's no way of one man, several women without food.
The act, which consolidates various laws relating to marriage, provides procedures for separation and divorce. It also regulates the custody and maintenance of children in the event of separation and divorce. It states that parties to a marriage have equal rights and obligations at the time of marriage, during the marriage, and at the dissolution of the marriage.
And to the Central African Republic, where at least 22 people, including 3 staff members of the medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières, were killed during the weekend attack by gunmen at a Central African Republic hospital. In the latest atrocity to hit the violence-plagued country, the organization is now re-examining its operations in the country.
The gunmen stormed into a building while local representatives of the MSF employees were holding a meeting and started shooting. The brutal attack in the northwest was blamed on rebels known as the Seleka, whose coup in March last year unleashed a vicious cycle of sectarian violence.
Saturday at 4 o'clock, a group of armed men arrived outside the enclosure and our base that are located near Bogwila. They began to take property belonging to Doctors Without Borders. And then, while we were gathering a meeting of local authorities, village chiefs, local leaders who were sitting at the outpatients area, well, they were simply targeted by these armed men. The people who were unarmed were simply massacred. And now, we have counted the loss of 16 people, including 3 of our colleagues.
The MSF confirmed the death of the 3 employees, saying they were among 15 civilians killed in the attack.
These are very difficult conditions. Since the beginning of the crisis in December 2012, Doctors Without Borders has been the subject of a large number of security incidents. It has not stopped us doing our work until now. The incident that occurred Saturday is very, very serious, and will probably have consequences.
But some ignored the orders and went on killing, raping and pillaging rampage. African and French peacekeepers backed up recently by the EU force have struggled to curb the fighting, ripping the country apart. A 12,000-strong UN force is scheduled to be deployed in September in the former French colony. The Seleka rebels were ordered to disarm by their leader, Michael Jotodia, several months after they installed him into power in a coup.
To economic matters in Kenya, the country has missed its economic growth target for 2013. Planning Cabinet Secretary Ebru attributed this to a decelerated growth pattern in the agricultural and the tourism sector. Sam Gakonyi with that story.
East Africa's #1 economy has registered mixed performance in the latest economic survey released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Despite there being 742,000 new jobs in both the public and the private sector created in the country, several sectors performed dismally, contributing to a poor growth of the GDP.
The country's gross domestic product expanded by 4.7% in 2013 compared to 4.6% in 2012. This is lower than what we had anticipated. However, the slight improvement is supported by a stable macroeconomic environment for the better part of the year.
The largest contributor to Kenya's economy suffered a setback of 1.3% in decline from 4.2% in 2012. Tourist arrivals, on the other hand, declined from 1.7 million to 1.5 million.
And the decline in international arrivals may be attributed to various travel advisories by traditional tourist markets due to security concerns.
Exports and import ratio deteriorated by 2%, with exports declining by 3% and imports increasing by 2.8%. The building and construction sector expanded by 5.5%. The decline in inflation to 5.7% from 9.4% was registered, improved largely due to increased supply of basic foodstuffs and stable domestic prices of petroleum products. The government now has solid plans for the next financial year. The world trade volume is also expected to expand at 4.8%, supported by a global commodity demand. The Cabinet Secretary says the country's prospects for enhanced growth are positive. However, the economy is faced with a number of potential internal and external risks that the ministry wants to avert by robust measures in agriculture and the transport sector. The government now wants every county to have at least one agricultural value addition plant.
We expect operationalization of the development budget in the counties is expected to spur further economic growth. Now that the systems have been set up and the structures, we expect to see a lot more spending at the county level and also by the national government that has completely set up their structures.
The macroeconomic stability witnessed in 2013 spilled into the first quarter of 2014 is likely to continue to the rest of the year. This with the commencement of the implementation of the second medium-term plan.
The family of the U.S. President Barack Obama were joined by the public in mourning the death of his Aunt Zaituni Obama, who passed away after a cancer ailment at a Boston hospital. Zaituni's family here in Kenya is preparing for the funeral. She was the half-sister of President's late father, Barack Obama Sr.
Zaituni moved to the United States from her native village in Kenya in 2000. She remained in Boston, where she lived in a public housing complex for the elderly. There were differences in her marriage, but this is hope that will be cleared and her children will take charge of her burial arrangements and give her a decent send-off. But if the burial site problem persists, the family might be forced to bury her at a cemetery, as the Luo traditions do not allow them to bury a married daughter in the home state. Obama's grandmother, Mama Sarah Obama, said both their families, maternal and marital, in Kogelo and Karachuonyo, are making burial arrangements for their daughter. Mama Sarah also said that her son, who is still in the U.S., is making efforts on how the body can be flown back to Kenya. She said Zaituni died after a lengthy battle with cancer. Obama first met his aunt during a trip to Kenya in 1988. He references their meeting in his memoir, Dreams from My Father. Residents of Kogelo are still expecting that their son, Obama, the President of the United States of America, will set foot in their village once again and attend the burial of his aunt.
The Kenya Human Rights Commission unveiled its fourth strategic plan for the year 2014-2018. The plan is envisioned to secure human rights as the Commission continues in its fight for the rights of the powerless. Miriam Kanyugo with that report.
The lobby group, which acts as a watchdog, seeks to ensure there are structures that promote, protect and enhance human rights and fundamental freedoms. The fourth strategic plan will steer the organization forward as it confronts emerging challenges.
We will seek to ensure that the rights of producers, workers, consumers and host communities are protected and that there is improved accountability in service delivery to ensure access to economic and social-cultural rights. One of the less explored areas of human rights has historically been that of economic inequality and injustice.
The Kenya Human Rights Commission, in its own words, has triumphed in two significant historical injustices. It has identified Nyao House torture victims, created a network for them and facilitated litigation leading to their compensation and obtained a court order to preserve Nyao House chambers as part of national memory. Last year, the organization won a case requiring the Kenyan government to consult with citizens and small-scale farmers organizations in negotiating economic partnership agreements with the European Union and other stakeholders. It also, in conjunction with the Mau Mau War Veterans Association, sued the British government for compensation.
Ukabila ni adui wako.
Tribalism is an enemy to everyone. So when we go to give speeches, we must show that a human being is no different from the other.
Kwa hivyo wakati sisi tunaenda kuhutubia watu, lazima tuonyeshe ya kwamba binadamu ni binadamu kama yule mwingine.
This launched plan is driven by the new mission of fostering human rights, democratic values, human dignity and social justice.
The Kenya National Human Rights Commission has unveiled its fourth strategic plan for the years 2014-2018 that is designed to capitalize on emerging opportunities and also confront future challenges. For Ebru African News, I'm Miriam Kanyugo.
The chairman of the Law Society of Kenya, Eric Mutua, has dismissed allegations that he masterminded the sale of the Milili Ranch, which is set aside by the government for the construction of the Konza Techno City, terming it as a plot to taint his image and a motive of witch hunt. Ebru Africa's news reporter Agnes Kakunga with more on that land sale scandal.
LSK chairman Eric Mutua has come out to defend himself over the controversy surrounding the sale of Milili Ranch. Mutua says he did not commit any offense in the sale of the 5,000 acres of land. According to the lawyer, he acted as an advocate for Milili Ranch, and after receiving the proceeds, he distributed the same as per the instructions given to him by his clients.
There is a dispute between them and my client as to whether the ones who were paid were within the 5,000 acres of land or not. That is a dispute. And it is not my business, in my view as an advocate, to challenge a list which has been brought by my client to tell me this is a list you need to pay. These are the people you need to pay. They are within the 5,000 acres. A list which has been drawn by a surveyor. It is not even them who have drawn the list.
On Friday, the CID directed that Mutua, Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama, former Information and Communication Permanent Secretary Bitange Ndemo, be charged alongside 5 others for the questionable sale. Mutua says that he is ready to go to court because he has all the supporting documents to show that he has no case to answer.
Go to the persons who are investigating. Ask them to show them one person, one statement from a member of Milili Ranch whose property was within the 5,000 acres who says that he was not paid. If he gives you a statement or a letter from one person who has not been paid within the Milili Ranch, then I'm guilty. I can say I'm guilty from now.
The CID letter indicated that during the inquiry by the police, Mutua, who is allegedly the mastermind of the whole scam, failed to account for, among other questionable amounts of money, 14 million shillings that was in his account. But Mutua has strongly refuted the claims, saying that his account has more than 14 million shillings, which belongs to his client. Mutua is accusing the executive of trying to intimidate him in order to stop an intended case against the construction of the standard gauge railway.
Now, and this is to demonstrate that I'm not going to keep quiet because I've been tagged a fraudster, I've been tagged somebody who has taken people's money with no evidence.
Mutua and Senator Muthama are further accused of forging minutes of the board of directors, which Mutua is alleged to have been using to cover up misuse of the Malili ranch funds.
To the northern part of the continent, the Egyptian court's decision to sentence 683 alleged Muslim Brotherhood members, including the group's leader, Mohammed Badi, to death, drew criticism both in Cairo and abroad on Monday for the speed at which the cases were tried. The defendants were sentenced following a trial that lasted only minutes.
The United Nations and international rights organizations criticized the speed of the hearings. The defendants are accused of inciting violence and murdering a policeman in the town of Al-Dawa in Egypt's south province of Mina last year.
We're here to make sure and see if justice can be done in these hearings and people get fair trials where all the evidence is out there where they can explain their situations, or the government would have to prove them, as we say in the United States in criminal cases, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So you have to show evidence. And it sounds to me like if you can convict one person, 500 people or more of injuring or killing one policeman, it's ridiculous.
Defense lawyer Ahmad Hefni offered a more pragmatic explanation for the sentence. Many of the accused in the case are still on the run, and the maximum sentence is commonly applied when some defendants are missing at trial. Defense lawyer Ahmed Hefni ordered a more pragmatic explanation for the sentence. Many of the accused in the case are still on the run, and the maximum sentence is commonly applied when some defendants are missing at a trial, according to Hefni. He said it was probable that those who did attend the trial would have the sentence reduced on appeal.
It's normal that the court will give the maximum sentence if the defendants or the lawyers didn't attend the trial. So it sentenced them to death in absentia. We will appeal and the death verdict will not be implemented.
Family members were shocked by the sentence and claimed they only wanted security forces to give their loved ones a fair trial.
I don't care about the sentence which he got. They are all ugly. I have 2 younger sons and rent to pay. He used to support us. My son is innocent. He's unjustly tried. He's not from the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood committed the crimes and fled the country.
The cases follow a violent crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood since the ousting of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi last July. Hundreds have been killed and thousands arrested. Hundreds of the group's alleged supporters have already been sentenced to death with similar mass trials. The Grand Mufti, Egypt's top Islamic authority, will now review the sentences. A final decision is due in June.
The United Nations top human rights officials arrived in the strife-torn South Sudan on Monday amid mounting global outrage over the country's civil war and a wave of atrocities. This comes in time when the government is set to resume peace talks with the rebels in the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay and Special Envoy for the Prevention of Genocide Adama Dieng arrived in the capital Juba Monday and are expected to remain in the country until Wednesday, holding meetings with South Sudan President Salva Kiir and other senior officials.
We from the outside think the situation is very grave and that there might be revenge killings. You know, when there's a dispute between 2 leaders, as we say in Africa, when 2 elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Well, here I see civilians, ordinary people who are suffering, and they are suffering huge human rights violations, from right to food to violence, sexual violence, and so on. These are my concern.
According to the United Nations mission in South Sudan spokesman Joe Contreras, the envoy is also set to tour massacre sites if security conditions allow. Last week, the UN Security Council raised the threat of sanctions against both sides in the conflict, the government forces loyal to President Kiir and rebels backing former Vice President Riek Machar. Both sides have been implicated in atrocities and war crimes, including massacres, rapes, attacks on UN bases sheltering civilians from ethnic violence, and the recruitment of child soldiers.
And finally, a 100-year-old Elizabeth Smith reveals the secret to her healthy life and twice-a-week workout sessions at her local sports club.
100-year-young Nan Smith.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Nan Smith is 100 years old, but she's not slowing down just yet.
3, 2, 1.
The Long Island resident is the oldest member of her local New York sports club, where she's been working out since she was 89 years old. Smith says the classes were especially helpful in aiding her recovery after an arm fracture in 2011.
I've improved my agility to walk faster, do more spontaneous things. But after my fall, it set me back, and here I am.
Even those decades younger than Smith are suitably impressed, including class instructor Suzanne Hiller.
At times, she's feeling very strong and very vigorous, and she's right there with us. Other times, she tells me, I feel a little tired today.
Smith says most of the time she doesn't feel her age.
I don't feel 100. Some days I do, other days it's a downward. But it's nice to be among friends, which eliminate a lot of my distressful thoughts. Nothing. I guess God wanted me this far.
And she's still shimmying with the best of them.
And on that inspirational note, we come to the end of the Bulletin on Africa this morning. Join us next as we take a look at other stories that are making the lead on the social media platform on our segment on Trend.